Good evening and welcome to the January Mangan Park Neighborhood Association meeting. And I am Jennifer Holden, one of two Neighborhood Association leads. And welcome to the meeting this evening. And we are going to get started promptly with Lieutenant Brian Kinney of SAC PD to give us an update on local safety matters. So, Lieutenant Kinney, you are now the host.
All righty. Well, thank you. I'll try not to let you down. Good evening, everybody. And it looks like I think I've met most of you, just in case I have not. So as Jennifer said, my name's Brian Kinney. I'm one of several lieutenants out of our South Station, but I am your geographical lieutenant. So that means I am responsible for all things in Mangan Park that do not require an emergency response. So Jennifer and I have worked closely on some issues. So that's kind of what I'm here for, to get you guys what you need from the police department or help facilitate getting other city departments involved to help work on problems. So having said that, I am going to share my screen here. I just have two short slides. Can everybody see that? All right, so it looks like everybody can see it. And so really this is just a snapshot of what 2021 looked like in Mangan Park. Kind of how we assess how neighborhoods do, or looking at calls for service, both generated by citizens within the community, but then also what officers are proactively doing within the community. So we can kind of see here, and let me see if I can blow it up just one. That probably helps. So you can see in the top left corner there, the calls for service for 2020 and 2021. We've stayed pretty consistent over the last 2 years, right around the 650 mark for calls for service. So we can kind of see there's been nothing that's really increased or decreased what's going on. And then on the bottom left-hand part of that screen, you can kind of see what we're calling in on within Mangan Park. And looking at the list, it's pretty good in the sense that we don't see violent crime on the top of the list. The number one call that we receive within the area is an all units broadcast. And I think, as I've explained before, really that's something that doesn't really oftentimes necessitate a police response. It might be, hey, we heard illegal fireworks going off, or we saw somebody going down the street looking in garbage cans, things like that. It's more of an FYI for police as opposed to a response in a lot of cases. And then you can kind of just go down the list and see the most frequent calls we go on. But again, the thing that I look at that's not on the list is anything violent crime related. So your neighborhood particular is doing good in regards to that. And then over on the right-hand side of the screen are the reports that we're taking. And you can see that traffic accident reports are a common report. And I'll just throw kind of the caveat or asterisk on these two categories, in that this doesn't necessarily accurately depict where the accidents are happening. For example, somebody might have gotten in a fender bender in a different part of town and they've decided to go home to make the report. And so it may have inaccurately captured where it happened. So just kind of keep that up to date. And that's kind of a nutshell on this screen. Let me go to the next one here. And then as we look, just when the calls and the reports are occurring. So basically when the most busy times of the day are, and kind of right in the middle of the day, essentially between roughly 10 o'clock and 5 p.m. seem to be just the busiest times of day for the amount of calls we're taking and the amount of reports that we're taking within Mangan Park. And then one area I kind of glossed over, I know the park itself is obviously a concern with some of the activity that goes on there. And looking at the calls that were generated within the park for all of 2021 were 44 calls for service related to the park. Most of those are going to be, when we look at them, like suspicious cars parked in the park or loud music, things of that nature. Again, just to reiterate, we haven't seen the spike in violent crime within Mangan Park that unfortunately we've seen in other parts of the city. So kind of in a nutshell, that's your year in review for crime within Mangan Park. Do we have any questions regarding this? I know Jennifer asked to have something for me at least.
I was waiting for everybody else. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and ask my question then. So I am looking at the top box on the left that says Mangan Park citizen initiated calls for service totals. So it's that we had 648 calls approximately, understanding that, you know, locations are a little, you know, sometimes a little hard to verify, but we're in the ballpark of 640, 650 calls, something like that. And of those 44, of those 648, 44 were about activities in the park, and 97 of the 648 were related to persons experiencing homelessness?
So possibly. So the way we capture homeless related issues is by the way officers clear a call for service. So technically you could have one of the 44 calls at Mangan Park could also capture somebody experiencing homelessness. So that could be a double reporting there. We have to kind of throw the caveat. We would then have to drill down further into those calls, which really, absent like an exigency, is really time consuming. It just kind of gives you a glimpse of those two different categories.
Okay. And then the top 10 chart above that, yep. Are those expressly for Mangan Park citizens, or are those for the general area?
No, these are specific to Mangan Park, the neighborhood of Mangan Park. So okay. What your association encompasses are those represented calls.
Okay, got it. Yep, I am much clearer now. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna stop sharing here.
Hey guys, just quickly, that sounds, 648 doesn't sound like a lot of calls in a year, but when you think of Mangan Park, it's a small neighborhood. There's only a certain amount of houses and things near or around that park. So actually, it's a very large number, just, to put it in context, because when I think of Land Park, Land Park is huge compared to Mangan Park. Mangan Park is very small. So just want to put my 2 cents in there. That's a lot of calls.
It is, and something else to consider. So for example, we're working on a problem resident or residents within Mangan Park, some of you may be aware of. And every time there's an incident there, we typically get 4 or 5 neighbors calling in. So when you look at, let's say, even just the last 3 months, we have incidents there a couple times a week. And fortunately, a lot of them are just kind of nuisance related, but that could account for 100 calls for service, but they're basically duplicate calls to the same thing because multiple people are calling in on the same thing. So some of those numbers are inflated, but I do agree with you, Christina, that it is a lot, but when we look at what they're actually in relation to, I think overall we're looking good.
What are the, just asking, because I walked around the park a little bit a couple of times, and there are people that are drug dealers just parked there, just waiting for people to come and sell their drugs to and stuff. Any updates on what's going on with not the addicts, but the drug dealers? Any discussions, anything going on with that?
Well, certainly when we get calls, we do respond out to those. And I know a lot of the neighbors are very mindful of the people that are at the park for nefarious activity. So when we do get calls for service, we will respond out there. Our POP team's been really good about just proactively patrolling out there. But certainly things happen and we don't know about it. And so usually the best course of action that we would advocate from our neighbors is when you see stuff like that, we have to call it in. Certainly our resources are limited in the sense that we can't be there all the time. But when we know stuff's occurring, we can respond to it. So best rule of thumb, call us when you see something like that occurring.
And is that 311 or 911?
No. So that brings up a good point. 311 is going to be for really anything non-police department related. So if you're having problems with maybe somebody camping along the back fence of Mangan Park, that's not an emergency, that's a good thing for 311. Or you realize a light's out in the park or along the street, that's a good thing for 311. When you see illegal activity, that's a direct call to the police department. And really, you have to think about, if I don't call right now, is somebody's life going to be in immediate danger? And if the answer is yes, absolutely call 911. If it's something where you're just looking to report some activity that's not necessarily an emergency, you would call our non-emergency number, which is the 808-5471 number. But if you're ever in doubt, call 911. Don't.
It's so confusing, because I think, especially with the drug dealer situation, because you can say, well, I see somebody and I see them doing something, but is it dangerous? I don't know. Unless they see me see them, maybe it is dangerous, but you can't, you know what I mean? You can't always anticipate. Like, it's not like they're some person walking around with machete or, acting crazy or something. They're trying to stay under the radar, but they know when people are paying attention too, which is kind of scary, I would think, for the neighbors, because then if you do speak up, you could be a target.
Right.
Seems very frustrating.
Oh, it is certainly frustrating. And I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. We receive a lot of phone calls where, maybe you are out on a walk and you see some activity, maybe walk around the corner and then call. Don't, sit in front of the call or in front of their car calling 911. We receive a lot of anonymous tips on stuff. So that's also another avenue you can explore, but we certainly understand the need to make sure you're safe as well when you're calling law enforcement. Something else people aren't often aware of: when you do call in to law enforcement, you can request to remain anonymous. So, a good example is maybe your neighbor next door, something's going on and you need to alert the police. When you call in, you can say, hey, when the police get here, I don't want the neighbors to know who called on them. And I don't want the police officers to come knock on my door to get additional information. Can you have the officers call me instead? And that's kind of a way to isolate your involvement, because I certainly understand lots of situations where it's best not to get involved, or at least have the people know who called on them.
Yeah, because you've got a lot of vulnerable populations over there too. You've got people on fixed incomes. You've got, people who English is a second language. You've got all kinds of people that they're already fearful, and they don't want to cause any trouble. But when they don't speak up or call, then it gets worse, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's certainly a delicate balance that we all tread on those types of things.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, if I have no other questions, just kind of one other update for you. So every year, and it's usually right around the second week in January, we do our annual patrol signups. And basically, our patrol officers are bidding for new shifts. And so as you gain more seniority, you're able to usually get better days off, or maybe get off graveyard and things like that. So that recently occurred on January 15th. So we did see some movement. So typically we see maybe 40% of our patrol staff move station. And again, it's just typically for better days off. So for those of you that are out during the daytime or even at nighttime, you may recognize some new officers in your neighborhood. So we're really lucky at our South Station. We have a good group of officers, and certainly our sergeants and my fellow lieutenants and watch commanders are really good. So we're happy with our officers that are here. So we're here for you guys. And if there's anything you need, I know without a doubt, Jennifer will at least reach out to me. So I'll put all my contact information again in the chat box. So if there's anything I can be of assistance with, I'd be more than happy to help you out.
That all sounds very, very good. You absolutely know I will let you know if there's anything that we need. The communication lines between us work quite well, and I'm very happy with that fact. I did want to kind of check in when I sent out the invitations for this meeting. I attached the quarterly Chiefs report that contained a lot of other information. So I kind of was nudging my neighbors, kind of going, you might want to study up before you come to the meeting so you can ask some great questions. So I'll also kind of ask, did anybody take a look at the Chiefs quarterly report, and do they have questions for Lieutenant Kinney about that? Apparently the quarterly Chiefs report went over quite well. And so copies are out there. I actually distributed them beyond Mangan Park because there are some other people and organizations who have asked me if I'm distributing copies to send them out to them as well. So I did my best to get the word out there and make it a very public document as far as my email account would let me.
And that's good. And it should be. We send that out to a vast network. So for those it doesn't reach in our initial, send outs, I'm glad you get it out there. So
I do my darndest. We're all, working on this together. So if there are are there neighborhood like things that have come up in the last 2 or 3 weeks? Anything from the neighborhood that people want to share? Have questions about, concerns, something that's new?
Jennifer, when you say neighborhoods, what are you replying to? Any events or anything?
If you have questions about your area, because Jesse is the neighborhood association president of the Meadowview Neighborhood Association. If you want to ask questions about yours, I don't see why you can't.
Actually, I was asking doesn't have to be a question. I thought it might be some kind of a event that was coming up. I was going to share with everybody, but I didn't have a question.
How about we do that in a little bit, and we'll because that's a little bit. Yeah, let's first hear from Parks, and then after Parks we can share events. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that worked for me. I do understand that MAG is having a meeting at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to try to chime into that one.
Okay. You know what? Thanks for reminding me. I wanted to tell everyone when 7 o'clock rolled by, just in case people were wanting to go pop on over. So I will keep my eye on the clock for that one.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. All right. Anything else for Lieutenant Kinney?
All right. Well, if not, I'm just a phone call or email away. And Jennifer, you'll have to walk me through how to give you back the sharing ability.
Go to participants and then look for my name and select my name. And there's a list of options will pop up. Please don't mute me or dismiss me from the meeting. Please instead make me the host.
All right, you should be good to go. Let me know.
It says that I am the host now. Let me see if I have the full power. Yes, it says I am the host in the participants list, so that went off seamlessly. And Lieutenant Kinney, we understand if you have other places you want to be this evening, but as always, you're also welcome to stay and listen to conversations about the park and having our pool renovated and open this summer. Which will make Mangan Park terribly happy, but probably also make a little more work for our patrol. And we also have the Community Resource Project with who provides resources for lower income families across the entire South area. So you are welcome to stay for those conversations. I will also leave it with you that if ever there are any evening shift patrol officers who are new to the area who want to join you to say hi and wave to us all, they're always welcome to come and introduce themselves and let them know who, let us know who they are. Please do not make anybody from night shift get up early to come talk to us, please. It's not that serious an invitation. It's just anyone who's on duty around 6 o'clock at night who wants to pop in and say hi. We're welcome to meet our patrol, especially if they're newly assigned to our area.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys having me, and have a good evening. I will stick around for a bit though.
All right. Thank you so very much, Lieutenant Kinney. So that ends agenda item number 1, public safety. Number 2 is Mangan Park's pool resurfacing and renovation, which is a very hot topic in the area. And to that effect, we have 3 members of Youth Parks and Community, it's in community engagement, I believe. Sean Swanson, Jackie Beecham, and the new, it's manager, correct, Sean? Sean Islesworth of Youth Parks and Community Engagement.
Yes, park maintenance manager. So any maintenance issues related to the park, that would be me.
Welcome. Thank you all for being here with us this evening. And I'm not certain who to say should start, but I am just going to say YPCE, take it away.
Thank you. I will actually kick us off here. And you are very close. Youth Parks and Community Enrichment.
Enrichment. Thank you.
Engagement is a huge part of what we do. So very close. So I am the Community Enrichment Division Manager. Sean Aylesworth is our park manager, park maintenance manager. So I'm really going to let, as you shared, the resurfacing project and repairs, that is the hot topic, and we are really excited to announce some updates around that timeline. I know you've been in communication with Sean Swanson, our recreation superintendent over the aquatics program. So I'll let him share the good news as far as how that project is tracking. Before we do pass it over to Sean, I know that I did want to share a little bit of information. I saw perhaps some questions you may have had, or just maybe we're looking for more information around the email that went out earlier this week. The department, Youth Parks and Community Enrichment, is working very closely with Sac State's RPTA program, so the Recreation, Parks, and Tourism Program, Administrators Program, to conduct a study, really taking a retrospective look at visitor use to urban parks in Sacramento during the pandemic, right when the pandemic hit. So basically from mid-March to about summer of 2020, we experienced a phenomenon, I think, that has not been seen in many, in hundreds of years, where the outdoor spaces were really the only safe place that we could be, and where a lot of people were able to continue to be in a safe way when everything else was shut down. Parks are a place that many of us went for respite, to engage with nature, to be around loved ones in a safer space, and this happened at an unprecedented level, something that hasn't been done in many years. So our urban parks, those are the places that are generally to be first, as we all are aware, on the chopping block, when it comes to advocating for dollars and investments and improving our park spaces. So we're working with Sac State to conduct this study to really demonstrate how essential and vital our parks and outdoor spaces are, for the community. So we hope that you can help us by participating in that survey. It's really to get an idea of what the general park use looked like at the onset of the pandemic, so during the spring to summer months of 2020, and what our residents were visiting the parks for. What were the main reasons that they were visiting the parks for? So hopefully we can report back to you some of those findings, and it will really help to continue to guide some of the decisions that we make, and hopefully advocate for more dollars invested in our parks. With that, additionally, PPDS, Park Planning and Development Services, were unable to make it tonight. While I do not, on a day-to-day basis, represent that team, I did want to share just a very high-level update that Jason provided regarding some of the park improvements. I would be happy to take any questions and bring them back to his team to answer for you at a later time, but I'm not sure I'll be able to speak to so much of it. He did want me to share with the group, though, that we are about 50% with the construction drawings for the playgrounds, basketball, archery, and park sign improvements. And we're anticipating receiving funding for construction this summer, sometime this summer. Once we receive those funds, the projects will go out to bid for construction. So that's just a quick update on where those projects and improvements are at in regards to the drawings and then construction.
And what's the timeline for it going out to bid? When do you think that'll happen?
It's upon receiving the funds, the construction funds, which they're anticipating receiving this summer.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And I will, like I said, happy to share any, pass along any questions, and then we'll make sure that we have someone from PPDS at the next update and hopefully with some good news for you. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Sean to give you an update on the aquatics or the pool improvement project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. We really appreciate the news and information you brought us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jackie. I'm the recreation superintendent well, aquatics is one of my areas of responsibility. So the Mangan Pool falls under my purview. And got some good news on that pool for the summer. We plan on having it resurfaced, and that pool will be running up through the summer. Just a quick recap on where we have been, because I know the Mangan Park has been missing their pool the last few years. Summer 2020, when the pandemic set in, it affected our ability to hire staff and train staff and guards. And so we had to make some hard decisions, and we opened as many pools as we could. Unfortunately, it was we had reduced capacity with where we were at, and we're able to open 4 pools and try to spread them out as equitably as we could throughout the city of Sacramento. Going into the summer of 2021, we're hoping to run Mangan Pool, but we had identified an issue with the fiberglass, and the problem with it is it led it to a state that it wasn't going to be safe for us to have members of the public in until we had resurfaced the pool. And at that time, we had put the project out to bid. Unfortunately, we were not able to get any companies that were able to bid on it and meet our timeline to get it open in time for the summer of 2021. Which was unfortunate. We want to open and run as many pools as we can and keep aquatic programming and keep kids and families safe. It is definitely a priority to us. So, I know it was a bummer for the neighborhood, but, it also was a bummer for us. And, we continued working through trying to get the pool to a state where we could open it. We had put it out to bid again and received bids, but the bids were very high. So that's kind of why it's taken a little bit longer for us to get to this good news that we're giving you now. And went through some negotiation with it and have finally a fully approved contract for redoing the fiberglass. And so it's a $416,000 contract that we're investing in that pool to basically we remove the fiberglass, put in new fiberglass, and put new coatings over it. And that project, I'm happy to announce, the contractors will be granted access to Mangan Pool starting on Monday. They'll be working, we'll be draining the pool, and the timeline's a little bit in flux. It's a little bit of weather dependent work, and the seasons where we can do it is kind of limiting. But they have a deadline to complete the work that is well before we would open the pool. So great news that we'll be able to run Mangan Pool this summer. We haven't announced our official final schedules for things, but we are anticipating a pool schedule starting roughly June 17th, kind of following the school district's calendar in there. A similar rec swim schedule to that we've had in previous years. Again, $2 for youth and $4 for adults to attend the pool. We do plan on having a family night, most likely Fridays at Mengen Pool. So 3 to 7 will be $2 all ages. Additionally, we are planning some aquatic safety programming that's kind of like intro safety swim lessons. It'll be low cost and scholarship. We'll be offering some swim lessons as well at Mengen Pool, and then Mengen Pool is going to be one of the lucky pools that we're also going to be offering some water aerobics classes at this summer. I know prior to the pandemic that there were some successful water aerobics classes over at Mengen, so we're excited to have all of those opportunities at the pool. Additionally, just a couple preview things on there. Our scholarship programs, our Swim Safe Scholarship will still be applicable to any of the aquatic programming at our pools. So youth with financial needs have the opportunity to apply for these scholarships and get swim lessons at free or reduced costs. And we hope that people take advantage of those opportunities. Currently, we are in our hiring mode for getting ready for the summer. So we're looking for lifeguards. So if there are any youth or adults in the neighborhood that are interested in summer jobs, we have plenty of lifeguard opportunities available. The postings are up. We're also offering scholarship opportunities for our lifeguard classes. So if there's anybody with financial need, they can apply for those scholarships. And we'll basically, if they intend to work for us for the summer, we'll give them their lifeguard class and certification free of charge. They just have to agree to work through us through the summer. And then additionally, also, if there are people that are, not sure if they quite have the swimming skills for it, or, want some extra help for it, we're offering lifeguard workshops where we're going to have some of our lifeguard instructors available at some of our pools to help get people ready to go. So we're really trying to make sure that we have enough staff to safely run the pools and offer a lot of quality aquatic programming over at Mengen. If you aren't following us already, I certainly do recommend looking us up on Facebook and also Instagram. We do a lot of our announcements about postings and programmings and scholarships and all of those things on those pages. So it's Youth Parks and Community Enrichment, YPCE, is what you should search to find our pages. But that's a great resource. And then additionally, for more specific announcements about the pools and pool programming, you could also go to our website, cityoFsacramento.org/aquatics. Also the top hit on Google if you just do Sacramento Aquatics. And on there, we've got information about just how to apply for our scholarship programs, how to apply for our jobs, the aquatic programmings that we're offering, and then schedules will also be available there. Thank you, Jackie. Looks like she's added it into the chat. So we have links directly to those pieces. We're offering 13 lifeguard classes this year. And so more than we ever have. So we're excited about all of those opportunities. We're doing them at heated pools, so Mengen won't be having any of the lifeguard classes because it's a little bit too chilly and it's going to still need to get through its resurfacing. But there will definitely be opportunities over at the Meadowview pool, which is not too far from there. And with that, I think that's my updates on the pool.
All right, questions like Cindy. I know you're especially interested in all of this. Do you have some questions for Sean?
I don't really have any questions. I'm just very excited that we're going to have water aerobics again this summer. I want to do my happy dance.
Yeah, so Cindy is my co-lead, and on the record officially, you can almost blame water aerobics at Mengen Pool for the fact that the neighborhood association exists, because we met while we were in an aquatics water aerobics class, and there's lots of talk about at the classes about the pool and the park and what was going on in the area. And Cindy and I, started talking about, well, I wonder what could be done. And, the rest is history. So Cindy and I are really looking forward to having the pool open again and having water aerobics classes again.
Yeah, the only other thing that I might ask would be, on the pool, I know they're going to do redo the fiberglass. Is the city going to be setting up some kind of maintenance or anything for the pool deck? Because I know it's really cracked. You know, it's got some cracks in it in places. Are they going to come in and kind of fix that up, or is that going to get on some kind of a maintenance schedule here before too long?
The scope of the project that we are currently doing only really addresses the fiberglass portion for it. But you know, we will be keeping an eye out, and you know, my aquatics maintenance group does a job, you know, and they'll identify things and put in work orders when they notice anything that is at a level that is unsafe, and we'll do our best to respond to those.
Okay.
So that actually takes me to my next question, which I think you've already addressed, which is the scope. Because there was a time when we were talking about changing the pool area a lot, like including a splash pad and changing up some of the other facilities in the area. So I'm guessing that's still on the back burner, and part of what we're talking about for over the next 6 months to 2 years, maybe something along those lines. Or is there any still conversation about adding a splash pad and some other ones?
That might be a better question for the parks planning portion. I think it was probably Jason that had that when they were kind of doing some of the outreaches and questions for that. You know, the scope of what we're doing for the summer is basically rehabbing the current shell of the fiberglass for the pool, and not the addition of the other pieces. The stuff that they had the 50% construction drawings for, I don't think includes a wading pool on there. They are rather expensive to do it with current codes. But Jackie could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I don't think any of Jason's updates included the wading pool at this point.
I don't believe so, but I have a message in to Jason to get some additional information on the archery component of those, you know, of those updates as well. So I will make sure to include that in my request from him.
All right, thank you very much. It may have been 2019 or early 2020, the last time we heard about this subject. And so it's been a while. I just remember the conversation was using Mangan Park as a cooling center, and because there aren't too many cooling centers in the area, so there was some talk about adding some different features to the pool area in order for it to qualify as a cooling center for the summer heat. But it's been a couple of years. I'm sure we'll stay in conversation about that, and you know, dot the I's, cross the T's when we cross that time period. So Sean, when you were giving us information, you said there's a deadline to finish the pool that is well before the pool opening, which may be possibly around June 7th. Do you have that deadline for us, if the pool work is going to start this coming Monday? When is it expected to end? What should we be looking for as we drive down 34th Avenue, making certain that we know what's going on?
I don't have that exactly off the top of my head, but it's early May is when we've given the contractors to complete the work on the pool. And we anticipate it being done before then.
All right, so I'm just putting down early May because I know people will be asking that question too. So I'm going to bounce it back on out to our other guests this evening. Are there other questions for Sean or even Jackie?
Jackie, this is Rob Mead.
Hey.
Hello?
Yeah.
I have just one observation. You know, being that the archery club used the range, we have used it through the winter, and we've noted some, you know, slight degradation of the facility out there. I know it doesn't make sense to do a bale replacement if they're going to do some construction or until the weather improves and there's not, you know, the effect on the hay bales that the rain has. But is there any possibility that there could be some minor remediation, because a couple of bales have been destroyed in their entirety. And what happens is that, there's a wood backstop that gets, hit by the arrows if they miss the bale. And I'm just wondering if maybe they could do some, add a couple of bales out there until they do the final construction improvements. Is that a possibility?
Robert, let me chime in. Sean Aylesworth. For those of you I didn't meet at the very beginning, I am the park maintenance manager, so that would kind of fall into my world. I know we've talked about replacing those bales.
Yeah.
So it is in progress. I don't have an exact timeline, but I will go out tomorrow and just recheck everything and then see what I can do to put the priority on the bales. I don't think that those bales are going to have any effect on the construction or any way conflict with the construction. So again, for us to move forward that's a separate project we can work on expeditiously for you and for the other archers.
Yeah, I know that the weather has an effect on the hay bales. And
yes.
It probably doesn't make sense to replace the hay bales until the rains have stopped. Mm-hmm. But until then, maybe a little bit of infill with that might help with the archery, because we're still using it, and
yes,
we have all three clubs out there, and it can be a full range even in this weather.
Yes, absolutely. But so I will look into that definitely for you tomorrow first thing and see what we can do to either do some infill or really just kind of discuss with us and say, hey, look, I think we're going to be okay if we do the bale exchange now. And the rain, hopefully we get more rain, but the rain shouldn't be a terrible impact if we do go that route to replace them.
Yeah. We recognize that it's not cost effective to replace the bales until the weather has gone by, but anything you can do some infill work to prevent damage to the backstops would, I think, be appreciated. Okay. And to help with the people who have a bale in front that
yes.
For the compound shooters would be really helpful.
Okay.
Would you happen to know what the construction plan is for the archery range?
I do not know the construction plan. That would did Jason give any updates to you, Jackie, about construction?
I've asked Jackie, and Jackie said she's going to inquire and get back to us on that. So, so don't feel stressed about that if you don't know. I just maybe thought off the top of your head you might know. But Jackie,
no, I'm sorry, I don't.
She's going to help out.
Yes, I will ask Jason to follow up directly with Jennifer to share with the group.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Jackie.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jennifer, I had a question.
Yes, please.
Did you talk about the building in Mangan Park? Has there been any discussion on the status of the building that has graffiti on it right now? And it was first, I don't know, it was a shooting range or something, and I don't know what's going on with that. I'm just curious.
That's part of the larger parks planning that we're talking about, and Jason Weissman has been heading that up with the help of Tin-Hua Wong. So I'm kind of leaving that for let's bring Jason back. Maybe get him on the agenda for probably March or April is sounding like probably a good time once we get closer to the drawings being done and it getting ready to go out to bid. I can absolutely put in an email and echo everybody else's requests this evening. And I thank Jackie for sending out a message to Jason, because we want to know also what's going on with the former gun range. And that's what Chris is bringing up for Sean and Jackie and Sean, which is it's dilapidated and literally melting in front of our eyes. And we had plans and dreams for it, and those aren't happening. And we love our pool, we love our park, and we also would love to have a community center, as has been discussed many, many times, in the former gun range before it melts down to its foundations. So But I think that might be a conversation for another evening. But Sean, Jackie, and Sean have all been able to hear the fact that we're going, when's that going to happen? When's that going to happen? Anyway, anybody, especially back on the pool, any more questions about the pool and its resurfacing and everything? Oh, Sean, how much was the final bid for the pool?
Did I hear 419,000?
With the contractor on the resurfacing portion is about 416,000. And then our on-call contractors in our facilities department is also doing some work to address some of the joints and pieces on there. And I don't have a total cost on those portions.
Okay, got it.
Jen, I do have a piece of information on the old gun range, from my conversations. And the proposal to use it, on an intermediate basis until they, had the funds to rehab it completely, was not approved by the Parks Department. So the archery group was looking to put together a group that would maintain the building until it was ready for, or until the funds were available to rehab it in its entirety. But the city did not think that that was an appropriate direction. And I'm not quite clear why, but anyway, to keep it from disintegrating, they're gonna, I don't know what they're gonna do, but they're not going to allow the archers to use it on an intermediate basis.
Yeah, that is a work in progress, and we'll continue to talk to the city about that. Robert, we'll keep working on what we're going to do with the gun range and how we can incorporate the archers. I think it's just a work in progress, really. There's just times and seasons, and I think we're not in the best time or season to make that happen. But yeah, the last estimate I heard for renovating the gun range was in the vicinity of $1 million, which is why it's not happening, because the city doesn't have the $1 million. But times and seasons, we'll see what happens in the next year, because there's all kinds of changes that are coming up that might affect the outcomes of some of these conversations. Anyway, I want to respect the time of the YPCE. I also want Jesse Reese to make his announcement. It is 6:52, and I know that there might be a couple of people who want to go join another meeting at 7 p.m. So do we have any last comments for Youth Parks and Community Enrichment staff who have been generous with their time by joining us here this evening?
Thank you for their participation.
Yes, absolutely. And I will work on, if there's any, I know that there's an Instagram and a Facebook post that might have some social media posts. I'll be happy to repost anything that's put on the YPCE social media about the parks or parks renovations, and share it through the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association social media. And get the word out to other people. And Jackie, delightful to meet you this evening. We've never had the chance to speak. Thank you for coming and talking to us about the survey. If I can find any social media or if you have any email information, etc., that will make it easy to turn it into a social media post to get the word out, I will be happy to help publish word about the survey through social media. Sean Swanson, thank you for a comprehensive conversation this evening. Loads of information about the pool and what's coming up, and all of the programs we'll have this summer, which will make us happy again. I know Friday evenings at the park on family nights are something this neighborhood really, truly enjoys. So the chance to have that back again just sounds wonderful to our ears. And I know I can speak for many people here and not just myself. And Sean Aylesworth, congratulations on the new position. And thank you for joining us here this evening. And yes, I have lots of questions on other subjects for you too. But as you've already heard, I'm very good at contacting people for conversations at other times. So we can have more conversations in a little bit and over the next couple of weeks on more matters. And please also know you can always reach out to me. And Sean has my personal email, which makes it easier. Or you can always reach Cindy, my co-lead, at the manganparkna@gmail.com email. So wonderful. One way or the other, you can get us. And I can tell you that, you know, when it comes to the parks, Cindy's the one who's really spearheads more than I do. I mean, some people think she's, you know, they're surprised when they hear I have a co-lead, but if you're in parks, you know about Cindy. So Cindy, smile for the camera, because I know that you really care about the park and parks maintenance, and you're willing to commit a lot of time to making certain the park stays in great shape. So you can always reach out to both of us when it comes to parks.
Thank you.
All right, then. YPCE staff, thank you again. And you are, of course, welcome to stay for our next agenda item, Community Resource Program, but we want to honor your time this fine weekday evening when you'd probably like to be with your family, enjoying some really good food and relaxing. You're welcome to stay, but we understand if you must go. And thank you very much for bringing us all of this information tonight. And hey, we're all in this together. We're making the city a better place, one day at a time, one meeting together.
There we go.
Okay.
So we do have the Community Resource Project coming up, but Jesse Reese, you have something exciting going on down in Meadowview. Tell us about that before 7 p.m.
Thanks, Jennifer, for allowing me an opportunity. I don't know how exciting it is. I'm just passing the word. Meadowview Neighborhood Associations and other entities has been working on kinetic art for a couple of 3 years, and it's finally gotten completed. So they'll be having a ribbon cutting February 2nd at 10 a.m. So I'm just kind of putting the word out. So if anybody have an opportunity to come out and see that celebration. And the reason why I speak of it in those terms is I basically would like to see all neighborhood associations within their parks or whatever area you might want to have it in, is go for some kind of kinetic art or something that would focus on your neighborhood. So come out there and join us at 10 a.m. at February 2nd. And kinetic art is not really mobilizing right now because we haven't had a lot of wind. But last week when we had the 25 mile an hour wind, it was really beautiful to see that artwork moving around. And I think the thing that they want to finalize is putting some kind of colorful lighting display. So when the wind is turning that kinetic art, I think the lighting would really make it look really nice. So if you have an opportunity to come out there and visit and see what's happening, February 2nd, 10 a.m. Thank you.
February 2nd, 10 a.m.
10 a.m., February 2nd.
All right. Thank you very much. I didn't know you had kinetic art going on out there. So
it's been a 2 or 3 year project. Of course, you know, COVID is to blame for everything. So the artist or the sculptor had trouble keeping people employed, you know, on and on and on. But anyway, it was finally finalized here probably about a week and a half ago.
Excellent. And is there any particular place in the park we want to head towards?
That's not the, if I said the park, I might have misspoke. It's not at the park, it's at the Meadowview Community Center. It would be on the southwest side of Meadowview Road.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that clarification. I think I probably jumped to a conclusion there. So I'm glad I said something.
I'm glad you did too. If I said park, I misspoken. But when I indicate parks. I don't know your situation, like you maybe have kinetic art in the park. If you had a community center, maybe it could be in the community center. Whatever your wishes are.
All right. So anybody else have questions for Jesse about the kinetic art at the Meadowview Community Center? All right. I'm going to say that everybody else is really clear, and it is 7 p.m. on the dot. So if there's anybody here who wanted to catch the SB 910 city ordinance meeting that Maggie Coulter is running with Save Sacramento Neighborhoods, we are happy to have had you here while we had the honor, and we understand that you're going to head on off and go do other important civic business now as well. So it is 7 p.m. and we'll miss you, but wish you well and say thank you for joining us. And next up, Community Resource Project with Herman Barahona. Herman, say hello for the good people here.
Thank
hello,
you.
hello.
Pass.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll make it quick. I put 2 links there to the flyer that'll give you the phone number and the online link for learning about these weatherization programs. The federal government pays for reinstalling windows, caulking, and doing all kinds of energy efficiency improvements in your home if you meet the income requirements. The program is intended for low-income homeowners. Somebody who's on a fixed income, for example, may be able to get new windows or even new electrical appliances. As we move forward to this, sustainability efforts, I think CRP is going to be positioned to do more projects like this, like solar panel installation in certain homes, fixing the electrical panels in homes. And so I attached a flyer there, and you can call anytime to ask questions. They also run the Women and Infant Children program. This is the nutrition program for pregnant women and with kids up to 5 years old. So any kind of nutrition program, breastfeeding program information, this is the same organization that provides that. Often what happens in these kinds of federal programs is that people don't use them. So we encourage you to pass the word and let people know, especially if you know that there's homes that have drafty windows or a bad air conditioning system or heating system. If you meet the income guidelines, you may be able to get an entire system installed in your house.
Gracious.
Yeah.
How does all of that work? I mean, that sounds amazing for lower income people. How do we make all of that happen for them?
It comes from the Department of Energy. It's energy saving and energy efficiency programs that, CRP also pays for utility bills once a year for people who are behind on utilities. So what we find along the way is that people who have really high bills have really drafty homes, and they have all these different situations that are very expensive to fix. So that's where the federal government came up with this program many years ago to reach out to families that make, I think for one person, the chart is on the website, by the way, but for one person is, if you make less than $2,700 a month, you're eligible. For 2 people, it goes up like that. It's, I think, $3,500 a month. And it's actually, you can call it a rebate of some sort or a subsidy to energy companies, because it does a lot to actually subsidize energy companies. SMUD benefits greatly from these kinds of programs because they don't, a lot of these programs are paid by the government, so those federal tax dollars are actually helping utility companies with energy efficiency efforts.
Okay. So in general, we're talking about people, if one person earns less than $2,700 a month, but there's 2 people, certain amount of others. So we're thinking about people in those income levels who might be needing some help with improving energy efficiency or maintenance. Mm-hmm. So CRP will help them in that way. And let's It kind of went by kind of fast. So solar panels, they help
That's
with,
that's a specific program that's coming down the pipeline because SMUD is working on a project with CRP on this. So just keep that's to be announced very soon. But they will be doing some level of solar panels in Sacramento. The weatherization program is also eligible for renters. The solar panels and the roofing and the electrical stuff is for homeowners, but the weatherization is for everybody. So that's usually the one that's needed the most.
and weatherization would be like making certain that the windows are properly sealed and in proper working order. Doors have draft protection down at the bottom. That is weatherization.
Insulation, you name it. If there's something wrong with the AC or the heating system, they will also replace that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I hadn't quite known about that. Is that homeowner or is that weatherization?
That's part of the weatherization program.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's terribly handy.
And all the details are on the website. So I encourage you to surf through CRP's page, and it'll explain in detail all the other different programs.
Okay. So yes, because I think we all know people who are struggling, especially with loss of wages due to COVID. And so people's incomes have really dropped off in the last year and a half, 2 years. And I know that I see on social media for Mangan Park quite often requests for, help. How do I get this done? I can't afford the work. So I think when we see those on social media, we can start sending them towards CRP and seeing if CRP will help out some of those families, both homeowners and renters, and making certain that they're getting the repair work done that needs to happen in order to keep them warm and dry and their bills as low as possible.
Yeah.
Questions from other people about these programs or Herman? All right, I'm going to say that everybody got pretty clear about what was going on and how CRP might be able to help them or help their neighbors out. Oh, wait a minute. How far does the CRP, what's the territory covered?
All of Sacramento County, Yuba, Sutter, and Stockton. I mean,
okay.
San Joaquin County, yeah.
That's bigger than I thought. I thought it was just Sacramento County, but San Joaquin County and Yolo as well?
No, Yuba and Sutter.
Yuba and Sutter, not Yolo. All right. All right, I got it. All right, well then, I'm going to say that agenda item is finished. And I have one more one I'm not quite as prepared for, and it has to do with property taxes. So just a second. I think we are anything else for the good of the order. I'm getting the feeling that we're winding down for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good night, Jennifer. Thank you.
You are more than welcome. We were small tonight, but hopefully mighty, despite our small size. And have a great February. I'm working on getting the February meeting set up. I don't yet have a date. I don't yet have speakers, but it's in my mind to do so. And hopefully by the end of February, we will be meeting again. Also, my front porch is always open to neighbors who want to come by for a visit. And I also have had my first successful contact with the owner of Swiss Buddha at the corner of 24th and Fruitridge. And he has invited Mangan Park to come to the Swiss Buddha for any in-person meetings we might want to have. So when our COVID numbers drop, I'll also be happy to see if we want to have an in-person meeting sometime over at Swiss Buddha. I hear the tri-tip's amazing.
Wow, that sounds great. I'm up for it. I'm up for it, totally. I'm all vaxxed. I'm ready to go.
Roberta, how does that sound to you?
That sounds good.
All right, excellent. And you know, Herman, of course you have a vote, but I think I already know your answer.
I'm done.
Yeah, I kind of thought so. I know that Alyssa loves Swiss Buddha, so maybe we'll see Alyssa again because it's been a while since we saw her. It was like, well, yeah, I bet if we hold the meeting at Swiss Buddha, Alyssa will come join us again. So, been delightful. I hope it's been informative and useful time spent. And I will be getting the recording finished and out on the Mangan Park Neighborhood Association YouTube channel. And from there, put into social media so that we can share this meeting with all of our other neighbors and see what else will come to us in the next coming weeks as far as working together to make the city a better and better place to live.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome. Thank you for
night.
joining us this evening, Chris. Thank you so much, Herman and Roberta. It's been delightful.
Thank you.
Good night.